Hello. So all these medications here are commonly prescribed to chronic pain patients, especially pelvic pain patients, and even especially bladder pain patients. And all these medications can make bladder symptoms worse. Yep. Tricyclic antidepressants like amitriptyline, selective norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors like Cymbalta, and SSRIs like Paxil can all cause urinary retention, which is the inability to empty your bladder at all, and urinary hesitancy, which is symptoms like the inability to start your stream or difficulty starting it, difficulty emptying fully, taking a really long time to go, a really weak stream, all that stuff. So for some reason, even though this information is out there in the medical world, doctors are prescribing these medications to bladder pain patients and not even mentioning a word of this. I mean, this article suggested that 10% of patients prescribed SSRIs could deal with urinary retention. That's quite a bit. And that's everyone, not even just selecting for people with bladder symptoms already. Cymbalta, duloxetine, is even so well known as affecting the bladder that it's been approved for treating female stress urinary incontinence. So doctors are fully aware that it has a profound effect on the bladder. They just don't take the next step of how might this affect someone who already has bladder dysfunction. So this doctor who treats interstitial cystitis and pelvic floor related disorders, Dr. Daniel Brookoff, calls out the tricyclic antidepressants and urinary antispasmodics like overactive bladder medications as being bad for pelvic floor muscles because they increase the tonicity of pelvic floor muscles. And he makes a really important point here that the pelvic floor muscles are the only muscles whose default position is contraction. This means that neurologic damage generally causes spasticity rather than flaccidity, which is why, for those of us who've done pelvic floor physical therapy, you find out that the goal isn't strengthening, like in a lot of physical therapy, it's relaxing and releasing the pelvic floor muscles. So the older antidepressants, such as the tricyclics, like amitriptyline, cause urinary retention, and that was usually blamed on, I'm reading off the top here, the anticholinergic defect. But the newer antidepressants like SNRIs and SSRIs, like Duloxetine, Cymbalta, is working in a different way. Now, I don't know how to pronounce this word, but it's up there, and it's catecholaminergic effects, of which Duloxetine Cymbalta has a lot. It causes reduced flow, an accompanied sensation that the bladder or urinary tract isn't fully empty, the feeling of needing to urinate again shortly afterwards, and some minor leakage of urination. Doesn't that sound a lot like symptoms of painful bladder syndrome and IC and pelvic floor dysfunction in the first place? So yeah, they're prescribing us medications that can, for some people, not all people, but for a lot of us, cause and worsen the symptoms that we already have. And then no one's telling us that this is a thing. And the reason I'm sharing this is because I was on Cymbalta for 3 years during the worst of my bladder pain symptoms. I did not make this post. I'm just using it as an example. But I didn't even realize that Cymbalta was causing so much of my problems. And it was. I stopped all my medications at one point, and I got a lot better. And I thought it was just from stopping the birth control pill and starting hormone replacement. But when I tried Cymbalta again a couple of years ago after developing pudendal neuralgia, and I also tried Effexor again, and I tried Lyrica, which also did the same thing to me, and I tried amitriptyline, I had worse bladder symptoms on trying all these medications. And it was just so weird because when I told my doctors about this, they didn't believe me. They acted like they'd never heard of it and they didn't believe me. And here you can see there's plenty of anecdotal evidence of people experiencing this. Clearly, other people aren't being told either and can't find the information that they need to find out why they're having trouble urinating when they're on Cymbalta. What's really weird to me is that Cymbalta has been approved to treat stress urinary incontinence in females, and so doctors know what it does. It increases urethral closure forces. That would make it more difficult to void if you didn't have stress urinary incontinence.